man. I'm so excited to see them here. And then you see where we had Dr. Osterholm. Now look at the date. This was at March of March 26, 21. And that's when Dr. Osterholm really started making predictions. And I don't know if he's some kind of psyche or what. I don't know what it is, but Dr. Michael Osterholm began to tell us what could happen then. And certainly during that time, it was in the embryonic stages of COVID-19. But he was able to really lay out what the possibilities were, because we know it's important to manage expectations. You want people to be, you don't want to panic people. But Dr. Osterholm was very honest with us as to what could happen. And it's unfortunate that what he predicted did happen. In fact, he was just on today on CNN with his continued predictions about what's going on. And so when Dr. Osterholm says something about COVID-19 or whatever he says, I'm listening. He's like E.F. Hutton and me, Dr. T.
Let's bring him up on the stage. Let's
bring Dr. Osterholm up. That we call him our brother. He's not just anybody. He's our brother and our friend. Hey, Doc, how you doing?
Well, thank you very much for having me, Mr. Mayor, Dr. T. It's so good to see you. It's good Dynamite's on, I see. That's good to see him up there. And, I feel very honored to be here with you. This has been one of the few really incredible experiences of this pandemic, is to be able to work with you and to see what you said. And I think, Mr. Mayor, you know and understand this so well, what relationships are all about. You want to make a difference in somebody's life, then you got to be different. You got to reach out. You got to be part of them. And this is what you all do. So I've learned a lot. You teach me a lot. I've been learning a lot this past year. I also approve the point that the older you get, the more vulnerable you might be to learning.
Well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Go ahead, Dr. T.
I just want to say we promote your podcast, the Osterholm Report. It comes out every Thursday. And when you thought you were going to take a hiatus, and then had to come back on every week, it was a real service. We know it's hard work with the crew there at your university making that podcast possible. But I want to tell you this: when we're at the dinner table listening to you, yes, it's sobering, but it's also enlightening. You bring the data, you bring it hard, you bring it straight, but you also bring it with humility and humanity. And you never let us forget that. And that's how we can take the tough part of the medicine, because you also bring the vitamins. And tonight we got a whole lot of vitamins here, Mike. The barbers and stylists are all vitamins to help us through this.
You're right. Michael Osterholm called balls and strikes. And that's what I see him as, that umpire that's impartial, that wants to give you the correct information, believing that once you get the right information, the correct information, you naturally gravitate to take care of yourself, right? And that's what he's done. And sometimes it does not, it's not what you want to hear, but it's what you need to hear. It's what we need to hear. And so we appreciate the courage, because it takes courage.
Absolutely.
In this atmosphere with the politicization of a pandemic, which I think is crazy, but I'm not going to use the word crazy. but the point of the matter is we're really trying to save lives. We talked about it right before you came up, Dr. Osterholm, and that is that close to 800,000 souls have lost their lives due to COVID. When back in the early 2020, when we first found out about COVID, if you had told us that 800,000 people would lose their lives in the next year and a half, 2 years, nobody would have believed you. But now we see that's real. That's the reality. Tell us about your thoughts about that.
Well, no, first of all, Mr. Mayor, you're absolutely right. And I think that this is the challenge, is of just telling the truth in a way that people can understand and can process. And, people in the end are responsible for the quality of their own life to that extent, but we can do a lot to help. And I think what's been so amazing to me with this program is how you've been able to reach out to the community. You know, it's not about having all the money in the world. It's not about, fancy titles. It's about how do you relate handshake to handshake? How do you relate to, and I think you said it so well tonight when you said, no man touches any other man more intimately and allows that than your barber and even the hairstylist. And I think that is such an important thing. But you know what I learned more than anything, and I got to tell you, the night that I watched Dynamite talk about all of this with his clients, and I got to tell you, that was an education for me. You know, I like to think I've had some education. Well, I got an education that night, and it was beautiful. It was wonderful, and it made a difference. And so I think that one of the things you've taught us here is what we often don't teach, and that is you can have all the recommendations, all the policies, all the science, all of the things in the world, but if you can't get that needle that last inch, what have you accomplished? If you can't turn a vaccine into a vaccination, and that's what you all are so good at. And you have saved lives. You know, Mr. Mayor, when you started out tonight, you said, well, maybe probably even save some lives. I will tell you right now, you have saved lives. You have improved the quality of people's lives. And you have also taken, I think, a community of barbers and stylists and given them the tools so that they can save lives. So you imagine, it's one thing to sit there with the scissors and the comb. It's another thing to think that you also saved a life tonight. And that's what I see happening. So to me, it's an honor to be with you. And as Dr. T and I often joke about this, he and I are twin brothers of different mothers. And it's a great honor for me, man. It's a great honor.
You know, Omar, at the end of our shows, because we've been doing the Thursday shows, Mike, for the 2 years, every Thursday night. And then I send Mike, his nickname is Big Mike. I send Big Mike the word cloud.
Yep.
Yeah. And he sees the word cloud of the barbers and stylists is positive and dedicated. And then I show him a word cloud from a workshop I do with health professionals, and they're depressed and tired and stressed. And what's the difference? The barbers and stylists literally see that they are saving lives. Yeah. And it makes a difference. They're new partners on the front line in this fight.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate, I know this is a mutual admiration society we got here, but we do appreciate you, Dr. Michael Osterholm. We appreciate and love you so much here.
Well, and thank you. And feelings are mutual.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that interview you did today on CNN, and I know nobody likes to say, I told you so. I get that.
Yeah.
But the interviewer recognized that you were looking ahead. You were actually, your prediction is on target. Unfortunately, nobody wants to get there. But can you just take a thumbnail of what it was like to have to verify that indeed what you saw coming has arrived?
Well, you know, Dr. T, I think that first of all, you're right. Nobody wants to be right in this world. But, you know, with the work that I had done trying to understand pandemics and looking at influenza, it was actually 18 months ago, Mr. Mayor, that I actually said to the interviewer at CNN that 800,000 people would probably die in the next 18 months. Those were two important numbers. One was the fact that I thought that this would still be going on for 18 months. And many people thought this was going to be an in and out. We're done. You know, a couple weeks, couple months, it's done. And we have to be in here for the long haul. But the second thing with the 800,000, you know, you keep imagining all the people who they are. Their grandpas and grandmas, their moms and dads, their brothers and sisters, you know, their cousins, their aunts, their uncles, their people we work with, they're people we don't know, but we wish we knew. It's all those people that make up that 800,000. And I think that to the extent that's very hard to imagine who those people are, if you look and try to just understand how many children, for example, in this country, we estimate that well over 140,000 children in this country have lost a parent or a caregiver to this disease. And think what the impact that's had on families. So it's not even just those who die. That number in of itself is a tragedy, but it's just the beginning of understanding the impact. So everything you do is you're turning that number the other way. And that's what we got to do. And I wish more of the public health community could learn from this operation. As Dr. T can tell you, we're trying to figure out how do you export this so that others can learn from this incredible model that you set up.
You know what you said on that barbershop show and you met Mike Dynamite Brown, you said,
I did.
There should be one of these in every state in the country.
I did, and I still believe it, as you well know. I do believe it.
We're almost there. Over 1,000
We're trying to make
shops
it
have
happen.
signed up.
Yeah.
And now we're trying to bring them on board. I want you to meet some of our new friends. Omar?
Absolutely. Let's bring up Quincy and Laura. Let's let them hang out with us for a second. We have Quincy Mills, who was there with us, and Laura Lenan, who is also was with us there. They were both speakers and presenters doing that. So let's bring Quincy. Quincy, tell us a little bit about your book, really, The Color Line. Talk a little bit about how you got to that space dealing with barbers.
Yeah, thanks. And certainly it's fantastic to be here. It's good to see folks. And especially it's just good to be in a community with a number of people who believe and work toward a people-oriented society, as opposed to a thing-oriented society. I'm teaching a class, just finished today, last day of class today, on Martin Luther King, reading the speeches, sermons, addresses of King throughout his academic life, activist life, I should say. And one of the major things that he got to toward the last maybe 4 to 5 years of his life was that American society needed to be restructured, and that we needed to sort of stop treating people like things, but really center people in American democracy, which ultimately is the work that you all, health professionals and actors, are actually doing, right? As opposed to, some people might get COVID, but that's okay, right? Like some people might be unemployed, but that's okay. But no, we don't. We really want to certainly be on the front lines and address this larger thing. So anyhow, it's just good to sort of be here and so forth. The book, so it's part of the reason for writing that book was that society. I mean, we talk a lot about Black barbershops, particularly as spaces where African Americans can go and talk and debate. Folks will call it the Black Man's Country Club, right? They'll say this is where Black folk can hang out and so forth. There are movies made about barbershops for sure. I thought there was a lot more to barbershops than that. Yes, it's very important to sort of think about the spaces that Black men have and have had. But it seemed to be that we were missing a big picture on this space. And frankly, there had been no historical work, surprisingly, done on Black barbershops. And so I thought there was certainly an important story to tell. And so the story that I do tell goes from 1830 to approximately the 1970s. And essentially, it looks at the evolution of the barbering profession and also the barber shop, and particularly Black men's entry into those two spaces. Outlining, I'll be sort of brief here. I'm an academic, so I like to talk.
Academics and preachers, they're very closely related. I'm telling you that. Go ahead.
That's right. So essentially, I thought what was missing was, like, barbers were ironically missing from our conversations on barbershops.
Right.
We talked about the barbershops as spaces, but we didn't talk a lot about the barbers, right? Which I'll say in a second connects with, I think, the work that this project has been doing. And so the book is essentially sort of traces the ways in which Black-owned barbershops in the 19th century were primarily sort of commercial spaces owned by Black men, but patronized by wealthy white businessmen and politicians. Between the 1880s and 1920s, 1930s, a number of things happened that sort of pushed Black barbershops from downtown business districts to particularly Black neighborhoods. One, there was the emergence of the Barbers Union, primarily spearheaded by German immigrant barbers who didn't mind being barbers. Native white men didn't want to be barbers because they associated barbering with servile manual labor, effeminate labor. So you talked about touching a man's face. Well, right. White men didn't want to be barbers because they thought that if I touch a man's face, then I might be seen as an effeminate worker, right? Which was certainly hogwash for sure. But also during this, and so they pushed for licensing laws. So the licensing laws that we see now came about beginning in the 1890s, 1900s, 1910s, et cetera. At the same time, there were a new generation of barbers who were born after the Civil War, came of age in the 1890s, right when Jim Crow was on the rise. And they opened barbershops targeting Black patrons and Black communities. And so I look at that shift, and then so at the point, right, that Black men are opening barbershops in Black communities. Certainly there's segregated communities, but I like to talk about the Black communities as more than segregated communities, right? There's a lot more happening than the segregation. But there's a larger sort of a willing congregation in these spaces. So they weren't in barbershops because they couldn't go to white barbershops. They didn't want to. They wanted to go to Black barbershops. And so the second half of the book essentially looks at how barbershops and Black barbers were essential members of the civil rights movement, of during the Great Depression, right? That's where numbers running would happen inside of barbershops and beauty salons. And so that's the sort of trajectory of the book, right? Is to say that barbers were essential to these shops, but also that barbershops are not inherently democratic spaces. We'd like to talk about them as, you get the working class, you get the middle class, you get the upper class men all in the same space. And it's just like a great tapestry of democracy. Could be. It could be if the barbers made them that way, right? So barbers play very critical roles, and it's not surprising, but we don't sort of center them. We don't center them as subjects in this story, although they, in some ways, have a big part to play in how the space is outlined. And so I make the connection there with the partnerships that the folks here have made, because I think it's more than barbers being vessels for this health project. And no, right? These barbers are 100% partners here, right? And so there's a way in which they have done the work of building these connections. So you made the point, right? And which I like the way you put it, you make your friends before you need them. This is what's happening in barbershops, right? They're building community, they're building Black communities and making connections across generations, right? And so
can we get a salutation, and then we're going to bring you back into conversation?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And Professor,
I'm a poet that don't know it, right? I'm just
Professor, we all sit at different tables, and I think it's important as Dr. Osterholm's listening about the deep roots in which the barbershop beauty salon in the history of a country, and then the role they're playing now, and then the work that Laura Lennon has done in what her program's called Beauty and Beauty Salons, and the occupational safety issues. Laura, do you think that the barbers and stylists today are playing that same rich history that they did during the time that Dr. Mills is talking about?
Well, Dr. Mills' work is just fabulous. I was introduced to it during your session, when we got together in 2019, and it's just such a gift to read up on the thoughtful work that he put together. And it honors, you say it centers the barbers, and I think it honors barbers, just like the work that we started in North Carolina about honoring the stylists in this same role. They also have an interesting and rich history, a little bit different, but a lot of similarities, of course. I was so privileged to bring the idea of can we promote health in the beauty salons down to North Carolina. And we got together a group of salon owners and stylists and other community members in January of 2000. So that this has been underway for 21 years. And we still have a small group. And every time we get a new project, we expand the group out with different people who are interested in working on that particular project. So, I'm just, thrilled to see how when Stephen called me about the idea of having no research on us without us, that resonated 100%, because we started asking questions. It's like, is this a good place to think about promoting health? And then we talked with the stylists and we surveyed stylists and we found out, what are you interested in? Are you even wanting to partner on something like this? Is this something that really works for you? And they were all in from the beginning, the stylists. And they said, but yeah, let's talk to some customers. So we did some focus groups with customers because we don't want to lose any of our customers, so if our customers on board, we're on board. And so we continue to bring the data back and forth and have some discussions about, what we were learning together about whether this was a good place and what kind of topics we might want to pursue in terms of promoting health. And we really listened to what the stylists were comfortable working on in terms of different topics. So we started off with, healthy eating, and they were interested in physical activity and things of that nature. But as time went on over these many years now, well, the first thing that happened is the stylists, about halfway through the first study, they said, we really got to get the men involved. And a lot of them had shared space with barbers. Some of them had shared salons and barbershops next door to each other because they were related, or, all different kinds of configurations. So they said, we got to get the guys involved. So then we started working in the barbershops as well. But together, we just kept learning from each other and building that trust over time, and bringing the data back and showing, hey, this is making a real impact in your community. And the question just was, what else do you want to work on? What else? And they've always been eager to jump in. So, I think we've all been through this moment with COVID where, this is such a life and death set of circumstances. And people have rallied to work on these issues, which is just phenomenal. But I think, the future is very bright because we have the trust, we have the relationships. We know that the stylists and the barbers know their customers really well. They know when to push and they know when to back up, and they know when to really, give that extra emphasis of, I love and care for you and I want this to work. And here's what I know and here's how you can get more information. So those kinds of messages really mean something because they're such a credible source of information and part of their community. They're right there in the community. So, for me, the future's bright. I think, COVID is the topic right now, but we've got ideas for future work. One of the things that I was listening to tonight is just how important the long haulers, the people who have these long hauler issues with COVID, where the barbershop might be a place where, we could actually do some really thoughtful work, some mental health issues. And as Stephen mentioned, we've done work on exposures in work exposures and chemicals and things of that nature. But I think people, once they know you can be trusted in terms of these relationships, I think then you've got a foundation to work from. And I think this project and Stephen's work up in Maryland, we talk all the time about the different kinds of ideas we have for projects and working together, but it's making a difference, and that's a thrilling thing to be a part of. It really is.
Yeah. So Omar, when we stop, this is the challenge. If we leave them, it will simply reinforce the distrust that was already there.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why we have to be trustworthy. And so, Dr. Osterholm, as you said at the other big tables, this funding cannot be episodic. And all of a sudden, we totally dismantle the roads that we have now built to the last mile communities. We've got to figure out how to keep this going and not simply rely on charity, handouts, and suffering. And we have some of those barbers and stylists out here in the audience with us. We're going to be bringing them up to listen to, but we really need to make sure that those dollars floating around out there actually go to things that can work and not just into a broken system that we now know COVID has exposed is not helping us.
Yeah. But the Dr. Ostrom has been one of the greater advocates for us, man, and champions for us out there. And so we know that. Dr. Ostrom, what were you saying?
I was just going to say, I think that Dr. T said it so very well. What we haven't invested in is just this relationship kind of issue. Look, and even in public health, it's still tied together largely by baling twine and barbed wire in terms of the ongoing funding. It's not steady, it's not stable, and that's what this is about. And as Dr. T knows, and you, Mayor, I think that this outreach method here has so many possibilities. It's not just about COVID. But this is an ideal connection. It's the ultimate connection to the community. And we have learned nothing else in COVID. Trusted voices in the community are priceless. They can turn a vaccine into a vaccination. And you can have all the money in the world to make vaccines, you can have all the money in the world to deliver them, but if you can't turn them into vaccinations, you have succeeded in doing nothing. So I hope that people see this as important, and as important as just the actual development and manufacturing of vaccines. This is a critical part of it. And as you just heard, Laura, I think your description was wonderful of all the other health related issues that you can do. And the fact that we don't take more advantage of this and support the barbers and the stylists in this way, we're missing a golden opportunity. We're missing it.
Yeah. Dr. Mills hit on a salient point, and I don't want it to be lost. It's not just the occupation, but it's humanizing and giving credence, homage to the barbers and stylists too, the barbers particularly from his angle, that these are human beings who committed themselves to community, right? And so we want to make sure that we hail them for what they have done as well and what they've committed themselves to be an integral part of the community. Dr. T, I want to get a feel for what people are feeling now. Can we do a word cloud and kind of get a now Dr. Osterholm, now we're going to let you look at it first. What we're going to do is we're going to ask everybody to put in the word that best describe how you feel right now, right now, the word or words. It can be multiple words. Just put them in the chat. And of course, if you're on Facebook, you can put them, you can load it up in the messenger area.
Right. The comments.
The comment area, the comment areas. And let's just put your word in. Put whatever word that comes to your heart. Don't overthink it. Just put as many words as you like that speaks to where you are right now. And this is how we are able to kind of get a collective of where we are as a people, as a common people. Let me tell you something as you're putting that down. I was in Atlanta, Georgia last week. I had to speak at a conference of legislators, the National Legislative Black Caucus Conference. And I was coming out of an event, and a young lady who is a representative in Illinois, her name is Representative Lilly. And she says, when we were talking, she said, we are better together. And I thought about this. That's what this whole notion of community is about, is we are better together, right? And if we can get that sense of community, which is two words, Dr. Osterholm, it's common unity, right? That's what community is. You know what I mean? It's common unity. That's when we can go to our family members and go to our community members and go to our coworkers and say, hey, let's do this, not for you, let's do it for us, right? So when we get vaccinated, we don't get vaccinated for me, I get vaccinated for us. Let's do it for us. And let's put they say the United States is us. Let's really put us in the United States.
Hey, I think that word cloud is ready.
The word cloud's ready.
And while we bring that up, go ahead and bring our other spotlight guests up on the stage with us. Meg, and we have a whole crew behind the scenes. I want to just acknowledge and thank the the staff making all this work. To the extent that it's smooth, it's all because of them. To the extent it's glitches, it's because of us. So here we go.
They're building it now.
They're still building. And so we'll keep going. Again, more words, the more it builds. So let's take a look at what we have right here. Dr. Osterholm, you live in that world of epidemiologists and all the numbers, both international and domestic. It's heavy. What do you see in this cloud?
I think the most impressive thing is all the positive natures here. As terrible as this pandemic is, as many challenges as we have, when you're in this community, you're in you're with the good people. You're with the good people. And I think that's what these words are all describing. It's describing hope. It's describing the ability to do good. One of the things we've never talked about, and I risk at the moment here not to get a sidetrack, but I was thinking a lot about who becomes a barber or a stylist. It takes a special person. First of all, you got to be willing to expend yourself to other people. We talk about the intimacy, Mayor, but it goes both ways. You're touching someone. And I think that's there. You are in part the community counselor. You're in part an artist. You're creative. You have that eye. You know what that head should look like when it leaves the chair in a way that everybody's happy. And you often are a problem solver. You're sitting there, you listen, you respond back. It takes a pretty special person to be a barber or a hairstylist. And I think that by itself helps you understand why these wonderful words are what they are, because you're with the good people.
Yeah. And when I send it to you, Mike, one of them, you said no time to let down, and you were absolutely right. And now that you're here, I want you to know that this determination is to keep going.
Yeah.
And we need to spread some of this to the healthcare workers who truly are really on their last thin line. I mean, they've gone from heroes to being villainized in a snap. Yep. And I think that the barbers and stylists can help them too.
Yeah. One thing and this is something that we need to do, and I'm glad that you mentioned it, Dr. T, about the healthcare workers, because they're on the front line. And a lot of times, because of the vicarious trauma that they experience daily, it can lead to compassion fatigue. And that's why it's important that we take care of them, right? Their emotional and mental health. All of them need some kind of stress management training and all of that. We need to be able to give them time off so that they can kind of restore themselves and rejuvenate and resuscitate their spirits so that they can go back into this space of healing, and so we need to be intentional about that and thank them just as we thank the military and other professions for what they do. We have to really stop and give an appreciation for the people who work in healthcare, the frontline workers, the people who are doing the day-to-day work where the rubber meets the road. We need to be able to say thank you. And I guess if I would put my big word up there, it would be thank you. It would be appreciation. It would be gratitude for all things that are done to quell this pandemic, both seen and unseen, as my mama used to say.
So Omar, look at the big ones in the middle. Blessed,
dedicated, determined, hopeful. See what that's about, Dr. Osterholm. This is how we are. This is where we are. And this is coming from not just the people on the Zoom, but this is coming from Facebook and all over. The energy is being transferred. And that's where hope lies. In together, we are better together. And that's how we need to see it. All right. Well, that's going to be good. We got some people coming up. Let's go to our Hollywood Squares. I see. We've been talking about you, Dynamite Mike. I told you a celebrity, man. You see, hey man, how you doing?
I'm doing well, man. How you doing?
Doing wonderful. Tell us about how you feel today. And I want you to. There was a story. I think that your commitment has always been there, but it was a story of somebody that passed recently that I think this an epiphany, a kind of aha moment came into your space, into your being, that even fortified your determination to get as many people vaccinated and to save as many lives as possible. I want you to give me a clip note, just a small snippet of that, and just tell me how you're feeling today.
So just before he starts, Dr. Lenant's got to slip out for another class.
Oh, you got to go.
Let's give her some snacks.
This is what we're going to do. Dr. Lenant, you are invited back. Like right away. As soon as we can get you back, can you come back and just hang out with us, please?
I will. And I'm going to bring some of my friends.
Absolutely.
In North Carolina, I've got a few folks I would love for y'all to meet, and I think they would just be one of the family here. It'd be
Absolutely.
great.
Perfect. Well, we love you so very much, Dr. Lenant. Thank you so much for all you do.
I'm grateful for this. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right, Dynamite.
All right, Dynamite. You got the floor, man. I just love the way you flow, man.
Okay, you asked me what was I feeling. I'm definitely feeling determined. Just going back to briefly what you were saying about our friend, we just lost a good friend. He was on the Hell No wall. He contracted COVID the week before we did our second vaccine clinic at the barbershop. He contracted it on a Monday. He was hospitalized Thursday, and he died Saturday in a short week. And he had no underlying conditions. He had 9 kids, 3 grandkids, in the prime of his life, enjoying the fruits of his labor, and was just stubborn about the shot. Took a position to say no, and he met his demise. It was still kind of tough to talk about, but it's just the reality of how serious the situation is, and it just makes me push the pedal to the metal harder to fight the Hell No wall. So people who were saying, no, I'm not getting vaccinated now they're saying one of my other customers I talked to, his brother had contracted it. He was about to die. He pulled through. So now him and his brother, they're talking about getting vaccinated. So I don't like saying, you need to do this. I keep saying, brother is here. We have the information. Go on our website, look up the research, answer your own questions. I mean, I can't tell you what it is that you're looking for. You know what you're looking for. So do the research, find what you're looking for to get the answers. But I have both shots and I'm boosted. So I'm sitting here cutting your hair and I'm doing fine. No third arm is growing out of me or nothing. Mm-hmm. So just get on board and keep the world safe.
Yeah. You said something that's really important. He had 9 children, had grandchildren. So, and I think Dr. Osterholm talked about it. We're orphaning a lot of children, a lot of people. It's not just the fact that people are dying, and that's significant enough. But breadwinners are dying.
That's what's tragic.
That's tragic. And that alters the trajectory of many families and the lives of our children as well. And we don't know what that long-term impact will be on communities when we lose people like that. So Dynamite Mike, man, you know how much we love you, man, and you're an incredible person. You have really added so much to this mission we're on, man. This movement. You've added so much.
Be a part. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let me be a part.
Hey,
Dr. Osterholm.
Hey,
that's your buddy.
Yep, yeah. It is. And this is the guy that makes Mike's proud. You're a good role model for us. You make us Mike's proud.
Big Mike and Dynamite.
But Big Mike and Dynamite. Right? Yeah.
Hey,
you know, Go ahead.
I was going to say, one of the sponsors of our 2019 event was the Multiple Myeloma Society, and they helped fund that 2019 meeting. And what was so important was they also brought members of the community. I had really never heard about multiple myeloma as a cancer. It's a cancer that affects African Americans in particular. And they brought two survivors, and one of them is here with us today. Kevin Yates. Hello, my friend. It's been 2 years since we were together.
Good.
Yes. Yes.
Hey, Kevin, how you doing, man? It's so good to see you, my
Fantastic.
friend.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And the second time I heard about multiple myeloma and the world heard about it was the death of Colin Powell.
Yeah.
So talk about being a survivor, because we're going to have long haulers that are going to be survivors. How do we get them organized? How do we do it, Mr. Yates?
Well, just one step at a time, first and foremost. Getting these daily checkups, the blood work, just, everything we're talking about here, just taking care of yourself, doing your annual physicals, blood work, pretty much that's all it takes.
Tell us your story. I would just tell us just briefly, because I'm telling you that you touched my heart in such a way, man, that I'll never forget you and your message. Just tell the audience just a little bit about your story.
Yeah, just small snippet of my story was, do my physicals every year, started having increasing back pain over a several week span, and kept going back and forth to the doctor. They wouldn't do blood work because obviously my back was hurting. They don't treat you for back pain, and it was the luck of the draw. I had a nurse practitioner that said, hey, let's look deeper into this. Let's get some blood work from them. Let's dig deeper. Upon digging deeper, come to find out I had multiple fractures in my vertebrae, and I had multiple myeloma. And just like everybody else, never heard of multiple myeloma until I was sitting on a gurney wondering what is going on here. And I was told that I had multiple myeloma.
Wow.
It was almost a 2-year recovery for me, just with all the damage it had done to my back and the radiation treatments, the chemo treatments, just trying to stabilize me, just to get me back to, just basic health at the most part. So yeah, and with that, I'm here today to talk about it. And that's kind of what I do in the community in the metropolitan area, is kind of bring awareness to it, because most people don't. And we're affected, African Americans are affected the most by this disease. And we don't even know about it. It's running rapid in our community, probably since 2 years ago. I think 10 people I know have been diagnosed with multiple myeloma in that short amount of time, 2 years.
Wow.
10 people close to me. So.
Right. Well, I'm telling you one thing, we do know that everything is connected, right? And that there are lessons that we can learn from what you're doing and how you have been able to create a movement in making people aware of this dreadful disease and what they can do to protect and safeguard themselves. And what you did notice is that the earlier you can detect it and it can be diagnosed, the better prognosis there is for survival, right?
Yes, that is correct. Yes.
Right.
Sooner the better.
The sooner the better. And that's what it's about, man. So thank you so much. Kevin Yates, who was one of the presenters at our first conference as well. Let's give him some snacks, some love, man. We love you, man.
Survivors matter.
Yes,
absolutely. And the long haulers, we need to get them to tell their stories and be open and public about it. I think of all the ways in which your pain could have been misdiagnosed. You are lucky to finally get someone. And so, Dr. Ritter, you see patients that come into you with all kinds of symptoms. How do we make sure that they're able to tell their story? You get the right diagnosis. Sometimes they think when you're doing normal treatments that you're experimenting on them. So when we say no research on us without us, just because you change a medication doesn't mean necessarily you're experimenting. But what, from your perspective in the clinical setting, are you seeing?
So this has been a journey for us all, and the pandemic has really opened everyone's eyes, shown the cracks on the streets of healthcare, but really they're chasms, right? So for me, the silos of medicine is where I've been living. And now I've opened my eyes through you guys, through the barbershops and salons, to see that the streets have lights on them and we need street medicine there. And I think the biggest thing in the barbershop is that you listen and you have time, So in the clinics where I work, time is not always available to listen. So it really does take an effort to listen focused quickly in the way we have it set up. So I am very grateful for being involved with this movement. I mean, barbers and stylists are not really a movement, but healthcare movement to get it, on the ground in the community and rebuild it. I mean, that's basically what we're doing here. And I'm grateful to be a part of that so that I can take it to my clinic in a way that I can be more effective.
Would that include your staff? Have you found yourself taking lessons from here to actually work with your staff to get them vaccinated?
Yes. I mean, I think I've told you, I convinced my last employee to get vaccinated, and she's getting vaccinated tomorrow. I had to push it a little bit though. And she told me, I really don't want to get vaccinated, Dr. Ritter, but I really want to continue working for you. I'm like, oh, thank you. You're going to make me cry.
That's
but
wonderful.
Yeah, that was my last holdout. But, she has long hauler, and we don't know enough about it. And she's been going to a lot of doctors and no doctor has actually told her to get vaccinated. So
wait, slow down. She was going to doctors and none of them told her to get vaccinated?
None of them, no, except for me. I said, I know your doctors aren't saying to get vaccinated or not get vaccinated. They're just not really bringing up the conversation.
Interesting.
Well, we've heard that before. That's not something new. We've heard that before. And I think that's something we need to really talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not, you tell people they have to get vaccinated. I think the doctors, that's the trusted information center as well. That's where it should be. We should be hearing from our doctors, and our doctors should tell us at least what they believe will save our lives. I think that's the Hippocratic Oath, something like that we need to be able to make sure people get the right information, that we don't do any harm to them. And if we know something lurks, like Dr. Ostrom told us, it's going to be close to 800,000 people in less than 2 years. People thought Dr. Ostrom was out of his mind. They was asking, what was he smoking, right? And then now it came to fruition just like he said it, right? And so we got to be courageous. And I think that's what it is. We have to be courageous and we have to tell people the truth. If we love our family members, we got to tell them the truth. If we love our patients, we got to tell them the truth, right? And so
you're right about
I'm off my soapbox.
But you're right about courageous, because some of them, because of the politicalization, may not want to bring the topic up for fear that there's going to be a emotional outbreak, an argument, something that disrupts the relationship. So they don't bring it up at all. Unacceptable.
Dr. Ostrom, I'm in Alabama, and I promise you, you can go into certain areas, particularly before the vaccine was, as widely available as now, and you could determine whether or not somebody was a Democrat or a Republican based on whether or not they wore a mask or not. That kind of politicization has really exacerbated the problem with COVID-19. And I don't know how we can get past that, but that's certainly something that we need to do.
Yep, you're absolutely right. And I think it's only becoming a more acute problem as time goes on. We only moved the dial 1% in the last month for people vaccinated in this country. We went from 59 to 60% of people fully vaccinated. And the challenge we have today is that many of those who should be vaccinated just won't get vaccinated based on misinformation, disinformation. That's why, again, the barbers are the trusted source of information. And that's what we need to do, is establish that. And you know, the most tragic thing I can say is that how many people, just as that tube was being put down their throat to breathe for them, that in fact they said, I wished I had been vaccinated. Well, that's a little late at that point. And that's where we've got to break through with good information, and that's what the barbers and the stylists do. They're trusted.
Yeah. Doctor, we got Chris Sherlock. We call him Sherlock Holmes because he's the man on the streets, and he has been an integral part of what we do as well, because he gives us the what people are saying on the streets, and so Chris, talk a little bit about what you're hearing, and unmute. Talk about what you're hearing. And what you're feeling today. You know, you weren't with us that first day, but you've been with us like you've been here the whole time. I don't even recall when you started, because you've been so integral to what we're doing. So how you feeling today, and what are you hearing?
Well, first off, this has been one of the best sessions that I've seen. I guess one of the disadvantages to being late to something is you don't know how it began. You don't know all of the work that went into it. So to see the powerhouse and the force that we have with us, I wrote down, we are ready for the fight. And I say that because we're combating. I saw on social media, don't fall for the trap. Delivering out medical advice should be found inside a medical building by a medical professional, not a barber. We have people that we are groups that we are combating with that are not only, as Dr. Osterholm referenced, missing disinformation, but also they're speaking for a group of barbers as if it's fact. Barbers want holistic approach information. Barbers want to receive financial support before they promote anything. Our word means more to us than money. This is this is another form of misinformation, because obviously they do not have a concise picture of what we do. I think that they need to polish up on their history and go talk to Mr. Quincy Mills, who I'm just flabbergasted at the amount of and the wealth of information and research that was done into an art and a trade that maybe in most of the people in the profession don't even know about. So maybe they need to be informed about their own trade before they begin dismantling a system that's going to save people. So even down to Miss Laura Lennon, mentioning the overhaulers. We our very self have a barber in our own local network who dropped off the face of the earth because he took a holistic approach of onions and turmeric. We couldn't even recruit him. I just spoke to him 2 days ago. They've transferred him long haulers between different hospitals in the area. He's a long haul. He said, I haven't been able to get back to the shop to make money. I just want this to be over. I said, you know, I didn't call to do any recruitment from, I called to simply check on you to see how you're doing. And I'm glad that you answered the phone because I was worried about you and I wish you a speedy recovery. Yeah. So I'm just grateful to be with the team. I'm grateful to have that force behind me. You asked what the streets were saying. The streets are saying, this is hogwash. The streets are saying, it was made too quickly. The streets were saying, we don't believe it. And as a unit, and a unit is made of different, a system is made of different components. And without one component working, that system is compromised. Right. So as a system here, once we come together, my word was connected. And when I say connected, meaning it doesn't matter, we are all in various states, but I've never felt so close to a movement from people who I only a handful I've seen in person before. And like mine's kindred spirits. I think I'm not going to take any more time. I'm privileged. Yeah. Mr. Kelvin Yates, a walking testimony of they said, but he said, and I'm grateful for the opportunity. So I thank you. I thank you for your wisdom.
Thank you so much. Could you bring up Sharon Cooper? I want to talk with her a second. She's the person who went out and really helped us to educate and to prepare stylists and barbers so that they can be information centers. And so thank you so much for what you do as well. So tell us how you feel today. You know, you've been a part of this thing. You're an integral part of it. Tell me what you're feeling and what's your thoughts.
I feel privileged. Just to correct you, it was something, the love child of Dr. Thomas that educated the folks. I was just the tool used to get them to be certified community health workers. So as far as the state certification, but I've learned through this process, it's innovative, it's touching and transforming many lives. It's restoring many families, and it's saving lives in communities and rebuilding communities and restoring communities. So it's an integral part of the community of what Dr. Thomas is doing, what Freddie, Mike, and Katrina, instrumental. And you just would be just, I guess, amazed by the many lives that they have touched, the heightening of the awareness of not only COVID, but the other chronic diseases and colorectal cancer. So this is just, I would say, a continuation. And just like you said, Mr. Mayor Neal, it's a conduit. It's that link between healthcare and transforming healthcare and changing the narrative so that we can improve the quality of life. And again, without going any further, it has just been a privilege, and I'm just blessed to be a part of this particular initiative. And I thank you, Dr. Thomas, for allowing me to be a part of this, along with Mike, Katrina, and Freddie. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. We thank you. So let's give her some snaps. She's
Stop
such a wonderful person. You ought to quit it.
Hey, Omar.
You know we love you.
Omar and Quincy and Dr. Osterholm, I want you to know that Sharon Cooper capstone for her PhD was on the barbershops, and the work she did, the groundwork she did, helped lay the foundation for Mike, Fred, and Katrina being the first certified community health workers. We just learned that one of our barber stylists in Philadelphia is now going to become a certified community health worker. And Mike Osterholm, that is our strategy for sustainability, because the insurance companies actually have a code for payment of community health workers. Now, as an insurance executive said to me, just because we have a payment code doesn't mean we're going to pay. But that's why we have Big Mike here. Right. He's going to make sure we figure out how to get them to pay for the services literally being delivered in the barbershop.
That's true. And now there's a couple of things. We do have Sandra Jenkins, so let's bring her up.
Okay,
and
Sandra.
we got Willie Lightfoot. We're going to make sure you come up. So get ready, Craig Fryer. We're going to bring you up, Stacy Ruffin. We're bringing you up, Andre Russell. We're bringing you up. But if Dr. Weeks, if you can put your camera on, we're going to try to spotlight you as well, because we want to hear your voice if we can. Let's go up to Sandra Jenkins. Hey, Sandra Jenkins, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing, Mayor Neal?
Good. It's always good to hear your voice. What you thinking? What you feeling today?
I'm thinking the 3 C's of what I just really gathered here tonight. And that was the words courageous, caring, and conversations.
Wow.
And, that is really what I feel like I'm taking away from this group tonight, and will instill in our salon. I'm really pumped right now because I just got a very touching text message from a client expressing how much she really appreciated how, I communicated with her and the conversations that we had revolving around her circumstances. And that really mattered to me. I will be reaching out to the young lady and her boyfriend after this Zoom discussion. But those are the words that I'm taking away with me, and I'm looking forward to the community health workers course that will be coming up in February, actually. And this is a wonderful, wonderful initiative that I'm looking forward to, and I'm glad to be a part of this team. It's amazing.
Thank you. You are such an integral part of what we do, and certainly we could not do this without you. We know you. I want you to know that you're such a breath of fresh air and such a light for us. Thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you.
Good. Dr. Francesca Weeks, how are you doing?
I'm well. How is everyone this evening?
Good. You know, when it comes to knowing where people are and what people are doing and how systems can be structured to deal with health equity issues, that's what you do. And so I kind of want to know what your thoughts are today as we celebrate 2 years technically of trying to look at how we can take care of each other health-wise and otherwise, right? So what's your thoughts tonight?
I am overjoyed and thrilled to see a program being sustainable, especially for the Black community, and it being community-based for 2 years. Oftentimes I work with a lot of health departments, and oftentimes I see health departments going into the Black community, working with organizations for a certain period of a grant time. But like Dr. T said earlier, this is something that has to be sustainable. This should not be just something where we're dropping money in during this period. And my push, I actually was on a call for 3 hours today, pushing for that, because a lot of people are starting to run out of their COVID money. Money is starting to dwindle away, and people are starting to plan their transition out of these communities or the work they've been doing for the past year and a half. And so my fight is right now is we don't just drop equity because now COVID is transitioning, or as we're saying, more people are getting vaccinated. This is more of the time to keep the momentum going and making sure that we are taking care of the communities and making sure we're staying there and keeping resources in these communities. Yeah. So I'm thrilled to see that a program has lasted 2 years, and I'm pushing and supporting it as much as possible for it to keep going.
Yeah. You know, Dr. Ostrom said in the last, I don't know if he said a month or week, we've only moved 1%. We only have 60% of the people who are eligible to be vaccinated, which means that we got a long ways to go, right? This is no time to be pulling back. It's time to be pushing forward. And particularly when it comes to the last people, the people that Mike Dynamite talks about on the Hell No wall, right? It's time to truly engage at this time. And so thank you, Dr. Weeks, for all that you do out there, both seen and unseen. We appreciate you. And you know you're part of this movement and this family as well. You know that, right? Right. Good. Willie Lightfoot, man, you have really been putting shots in the arms. You have been very intentional about that. And we know, as we talked about it earlier, that you know, we're saving lives, and we can say definitively that you have saved lives. And we don't know how many, we don't know which one, but we know for the work that you've done and continue to do that you're saving lives. I want to hear what you're feeling now, and where do we go from here as you see it?
Well, first of all, I just want to congratulate, you know, all of you, Dr. T, Mayor Neal, all of you who for this 2 years anniversary that you've had on this program. I will just say, you know, don't feel bad to pull my coattail, because I am a pastor and I am a politician. So Lord, that's a double. I got it bad. Right? So, but I'm gonna be very brief.
Double whammy.
Andre, you don't talk about nobody. You talk a lot too, and you neither one of them.
I thought I was muted. I'm sorry.
Okay. Go ahead.
I would say very briefly, consistency, transparent, intentional, supported, empowered. And I say that because, you know, first of all, we're on Facebook. So that's transparent. You know, the brother spoke earlier, Chris, about what's being said on the streets. I'm in the streets. I'm in one of the poorest neighborhoods in our city. and born and raised in this community, in this neighborhood. And I hear exactly what.
Tell people where you are.
I'm in Rochester, New York. And we have, there's a lot of conspiracy theories. There's a lot of theories around there. Of course, they're going to use Black doctors. Of course, they're going to use Black people to infiltrate and come in and extract the knowledge from us and find our weaknesses and study us and do it. But I push back on that only for the reason of, this is not something that's happening behind closed doors. This is not something that, in my opinion, the table isn't open for anybody who wants to be a part of it and wants to be a part of the discussion. Oftentimes, as one of the sisters said, they come in, they bring stuff into our barbershop, a pamphlet, they want to research us. Some of them I've even seen the local hospitals where they're paying people to go into these different research projects and things of that nature. But we're never at the table to be a part of the conversation. We're never being intentional to get pushback on what we think and what we feel. I think I heard somebody say, how are you going to research us without us, right? So in the work that I do, in the politics, that's very important to bring people to the community. The people that are being impacted and marginalized have to be the ones who are at the table helping to make the decision and be willing to be intentional about receiving that pushback. I've never seen Dr. T and Mayor O'Neill be not wanting to take that pushback and not wanting to hear the truth on how people feel and always asking us, how do we feel? We're not forcing anybody to get anything. We're not holding people down in chairs and sticking needles in their arms, So we're giving them information, and this is bigger than vaccines. It's bigger. When we're talking about healthcare and information, people perish for the lack of knowledge. Right. And I've always seen that the empowerment piece of barbers and beauticians and appearance enhancement professionals, understanding the power that we have internationally, we can control the world. If we were united internationally, we have that much power collectively in our individual communities.
I've seen these polls all over the world, small villages in Africa, Egypt. Yeah. These polls are universal.
Right. And you're right, Willie. We literally can unite. Again, we are better together, right? Once we unite, there's nothing that we cannot handle, nothing we cannot conquer if we are doing it together. Together we stand, divided we fall. Thanks so much, man. I thank you so much. And I'm gonna come to your church. I like to sit there. I like to sit there and just take in that knowledge. Let's go to Craig Fryer. Hey, man, what's going on? How you doing? How you feeling today?
How are you? I don't know if you recall, but I had the honor of being at that conference 2 years ago.
I remember you well.
Yes, I'm an associate director in the Center for Health Equity. So I've been working with Dr. Thomas for the last, holy smokes, 14 years now.
God, yeah.
Back at the University of Pittsburgh, and has continued this work. And it is always my pleasure to have an opportunity to be with you all. Some things have changed since that conference for me personally, in that I've gotten a promotion. And so,
give it up.
When you get promoted,
yes, right.
When you get promoted, you get new responsibilities, you get more work. But I'm currently the chair of my department. And one of the things that was crucial for me was to think very critically about the work that I do, that I wanted to continue to do, if I accept this position or not. And I will tell you, the first thing that a well-intended person said to me was, I think you should take the position, but I think it's going to impact your ability to work with the Center for Health Equity. And I said, I won't take the position if it does that. And I think one of the main reasons I did that, if I'm being all transparent, I was the person that put in the word cloud that I was both frustrated and hopeful. And I want people to recognize that you can be both of those things, because things change within minutes. You can be frustrated one moment and hopeful the very next. And what gives me hope is conversations like this, but also the work that I get to do with my students. And I came from class right before class. I was in class right before joining you all at 7 o'clock. Those are the conversations, discussions, and the time that I get to spend that keep me hopeful. But we have to acknowledge the frustration and the irritation in the work that we do. This is tough work, and there's no reason to gloss over it. And so I'm appreciative of having very open and candid conversations about what we do, and I appreciate being here with you all.
Dr. Craig Fryer, man, it's so good to see you again. Remember you very well. Let's give him some snaps. Congratulations on your promotion. And you got to hang out with us, man. That's a must, right?
That's a must.
Right. Yeah. So thanks for your being obedient, man, to your purpose in life. Thank you so much for that.
Let me just say
this so much.
Say this real quick, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
When Dr. Fryer was at the event, he was there with a colleague, Dr. Kevin Roy, and the work they were doing in the barbershop. Sandra, you'll love this, and Willie and Stacy and Andre. It was called Toughen It Out.
Wow.
And it was the work they were doing with the mental health of the brothers in the barbershop. And they did the work in the barbershop. We had a private room. They did all their interviews there, and they learned about how our Black men are just toughing it out and the need to help them do that, not on their own, but to reach out for help. And we can bring that help to them right where they are in the barbershops and salons. Nobody wants to go to a therapist's office, but they go to the back room in the barbershop.
Right.
That's be a therapist back there.
Yeah, that's so wonderful. And we're seeing so many applications for this relationship with barbershops and hair salons. Speaking of hair salons, let's go to Stacy Ruffin. Hey, Stacy, what's going on? How you doing?
Hi, everybody. I missed you guys for about 2 weeks.
Yeah, we don't leave us no more.
No, I went and renewed my vow, so I was away. But yes, I know. But I just wanted to say something to think about. I was just listening to everyone talk. It came on a little late, but as you see the sign, we have a fitness center where 100% of the people that come to our fitness center are vaccinated. But I say 80% in salons and the barbers inside of the salon and barber. So I started thinking, and then Sandra was saying about obesity and how that gene helps with the COVID. So I'm saying to myself, I have a couple students that's in Florida now. 100% it was about 1,000 kids in Florida. 100% of them are vaccinated. I don't understand how they can come into the salon, get their hair done, and not be vaccinated, but they're out in the gyms. At least in our gym, it's 100% of the people that come to our gym is vaccinated. 100%, awesome. Not 99, but 100%. So we have to really, as the stylist barbers, we have to figure this one out. I really, I'm just lost. So I have to think of something.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do yet.
No, but we're going to figure it out together because we're better together, right? So we're going to figure it out. We all are possessors of some truth. As we bring our truths together, then and only then do we get closer to the truth, right? So we appreciate you sharing your truth. Andre, I can't go nowhere without saying something to you. Hey, man, what's going on? How you doing? What's going on in the ATL?
Well, this is Andre from Atlanta with barbershops in the airport and a couple of malls. They always like for me to say that stuff, so there you go.
Yeah, we want to know where you are, man. We want you're a balling shot caller, man. We want you.
That's right, and I really do appreciate it when you call me last, right before you have your things to say. But I did want to just a couple of things because just about everybody touched on these things about sharing within the community and giving information to as many people as you can. And I'm all with the airport, not the airport, but the barbershop at the mall. We're right down the street from Emory. And from there, for about the last 10 years, I've been doing some prostate things with Emory. I think I've told you guys about that. And ovarian cancer with, they came and they talked to all of my stylists and various organ donation. And the organ donation, which I think about when people come up to me and say, well, I don't want to get a vaccine because I think I've been targeted. And with organ donation, it was somewhat similar on the arguments to say, well, if I say I'm going to donate my organ, that means if I get in an accident, they're going to kill me. And I said, well, no, that's not the case. So there's a lot of information that has to be shared. And that's basically what I'm saying is we're as barbershops, we have to have continuous information, continuous conversations, because we'll be, now I'm not a barber, but I have shops. But I've talked to my barbers, they'll say, they'll have a point that they're trying to make to anybody, but they have to make it to everybody. You have a person that's in the chair for 20 minutes, half an hour. And whether or not they get their point across to that individual, they start the conversation again with the next individual. And it goes on. And we were talking about this the last time, where training is one of those things where it has to be repeated. You can't think that your dog is going to get trained because you give him one treat. You can't think a person is going to learn because you told him one time. It's going to take 2 or 3 times. And I think the natural number is 7, where they have to get it 7 times before they say, oh, wait a minute, I know that. So,
but you see how Andre, he's listening. I mean,
he sure is.
You can't say Andre is not a good student. He's listening very well. Yeah.
Hey, Omar.
I'm also a trainer. But
yeah, you're right.
It's okay.
Omar, the way I knew this was working is when I heard Katrina using an Omarism with her family. Hey, can you believe how time has flown?
It has already gone. I mean, I can't believe.
I told you, Andre, time is over. Okay.
Soon as we say, Andre, you want to speak? As soon as you say hello, yes, that's it. Thank you very much.
Let's let the crew behind the scenes open up all the Hollywood squares so we can see
if we can, how many people we can pull up, and just let's see if we can
just take the spotlights off, open us all up in your view, go to gallery view.
Good.
And come on. We have a great crew out here, Omar, that was listening, and a whole audience out there in Facebook land. We're taking this to the next level.
We can't go anywhere unless Katrina says something. How are we going to do that? Now, you're going to get me in trouble. You're not going to get me in trouble. I'm not going anywhere, Katrina Randolph.
Katrina, just start talking.
I was fine without saying anything, but I just want to say I'm grateful to be a part of such an awesome network, and just to see the impact that we have on our communities, and just to see how our network is evolving with so many wonderful people that I've met, like Chris Sherlock and Sharon Cooper and the rest of you guys, Craig Fryer. It's just been an amazing journey to see how our network is growing, and I'm just excited.
Right.
Now look at her new background,
part of the foundation.
Omar.
Huh?
Look at her new background, Omar.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. I mean, she's got it going on, right? That's wonderful. So, the clock on the wall says time for us to get up out of here. Do you know this is just 1 minute left? But let me say this, because obviously your statements were your statements, and so we're going to use those as your final statements during this time. Dr. T, thank you. Let's give Dr. T some snaps, really, because he's the brain child behind this whole concept, and he's convened us to work together, because we are better together. And I want us to always think of it from that vantage point, that community is common unity, that we do it together, that we save our own lives by saving other lives. We talked about it before, that when we when we convince someone to get vaccinated, we are technically not just saving them, but we're saving our lives as well, because the more people that are vaccinated, the less place that the virus can go. And we talked about it, that smallpox no longer exists because of a vaccine. Polio is only exist in 2 countries because of a vaccine. That when we were children, we all took vaccines to go to school. Vaccines are not new. In fact, the only 2 things that saved the world is the purification of water and vaccines. And so as we get ready to start a new journey, let's start it recognizing that we are better together, and that community is 2 words, common unity, and that we don't do herd immunity, we do community immunity, because we are together. And I thank you for staying together. Let's stay together. As always, I'd like to leave you with these 2 words. Remember that I love you with a perfect love, but more importantly, remember this: you got the power. Until next week, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. We got some new lineups coming for you next week. I'm telling you.
It's going to be wonderful. In fact, next week we got, let me say this, Stefan Ferguson going to be up next week, and he is an imitator of Dr. Martin Luther King. So we're going to say the past speaks to the present. And so we're going to have people who represent figures of the past who may not be with us here today, but to have them speak through them vicariously to tell us messages. So this is going to be wonderful next week.
Yeah, that should be.
Yeah.
What would Dr.
Really
King
wonderful.
say?
What would Dr. King say? And then what would George Washington Carver say, and Booker T. Washington and Marcus Garvey, and all of those people? We're going to bring everybody. We're going to bring those figures in, and they're going to have a conversation with us. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Got to get out of here. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, is Meg gone?